Hi, I'm Effie, and this is What Effie Reads. Today I'm going to be trying to guess who might win the debut novel category of the Goodreads Choice Awards 2021. I've decided to use StreamYard to record this video as I thought it'd be easier to share my screen, and I've used a spreadsheet. I've kind of geeked out a bit and looked at some different metrics. So I thought that might be interesting to share with you all. I will also do, right at the end of this video, a lightning round where I go through all of the other categories and just, give a wild guess of who I think might win each of those categories. But for the debut novel category, I have done a bit more of a deep dive into it. So let me share my screen and go through some of the data. So as you can see, I have created a spreadsheet where I have obviously listed all of the titles, and I have also had a look and looked at what the number of ratings it's got on Goodreads, its average rating. I've also had a look on Storygraph and on all that. And then I've combined the number of ratings that it's got across the two platforms, averaged out the rating across those two platforms. The shelved column is how many people have shelved it under TBR on Goodreads, because I don't use Goodreads a lot, so I don't know if there's an easier way of seeing overall how many people have shelved a book. Like maybe I was really silly and didn't see this really obvious thing, but I thought TBR would be a good indicator and kind of an equalizer as well, because you've got the likes of The Push, which I'm pretty sure came out near enough the start of 2021. I'm aware this category spans from about 6 weeks before the end of 2020, but anyway. So you've got The Push that came out at the start of the year, and then you've got the likes of All Her Little Secrets, which I'm pretty sure has only just come out. It is interesting to note that some of these titles aren't technically available in the UK. I am planning on reading all of them except for all her Little Secrets, because I've tried and it was going to be too expensive, like prohibitively expensive for me to get a copy. It is on my radar. It does sound really interesting. It's just not on the cards for me this year. So let's bring up the spreadsheet and we'll go through how it breaks down for each of the categories. So sorry, that's done something really weird. I was trying to split my screen, but clearly that's not going to work. So let's see if we put this in order. So this refers to Goodreads rating. So going purely on the number of ratings that these books have got on Goodreads, the Lost Apothecary, I really struggle with this word. The Lost Apothecary has the most ratings on Goodreads. Now there's less than 1,000 between it and the next book, which is The Push. And then you've got quite a jump to The Spanish Love Deception. And then all the way at the bottom, you have All Her Little Secrets, which has less than 1,000 ratings. and I will just order it by the Storygraph. I think the numbers are fairly similar. So the Spanish Love Deception actually has the most ratings on the Storygraph. And again, all the way at the bottom, All Her Little Secrets has the lowest number of ratings. And then we will look at the combined number of ratings. Again, I think it's like fairly similar. So we can see that The Lost Apothecary has the highest number of ratings across the two platforms, which I think is hardly surprising given just how many ratings it does have on Goodreads. So I would say there's a fairly high chance that The Lost Apothecary is going to make it to the shortlist. Now, let's have a look at the average rating, because I think that's a very interesting metric as well. I do know that you don't necessarily have to have read the book to vote for it, so the rating that a book has received is no indicator of how well it will do. But let's have a look. So by quite a large margin, on both the Storygraph and on Goodreads, the highest rated book is Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois. And honestly, when I saw the rating that it has on Storygraph now, it only has 87 ratings. However, I'm not sure I've ever seen a rating quite so high as the average rating that it does have on Storygraph of 4.8. And even on Goodreads, where it's got 2,807 ratings, and it has an average rating of 4.56. That is incredibly high, in my opinion, and I think that's just a testament to how much the people that have read this book have loved it. I am currently a little over halfway through, I think, this book, and it is exceptional. I've read maybe 5 books on this list, so I'm not going to go too deep into my personal thoughts. However, I do plan on doing a sort of vlog / review of as many of these books as possible. So do check that out. And then the second highest rated book we've got is The Firekeeper's Daughter. In fact, I'm just going to change this up so it's combined rating, because I think that might be more indicative. Oh, I've done the wrong category there, it would seem. Rating average is category 6. My apologies. Okay, The Firekeeper's Daughter is the second highest rated book, with an average on Goodreads of 4.41 and an average on Storygraph at 4.47, which again feels really high. So I think that book, especially given that it's got 35,659 ratings, has I would say, a pretty high chance of possibly winning. But at the very least, I would say it's going to make the top 10. So as you can see, this is kind of the order that all of these books have broken down at. Before I move on to kind of the overall numbers and how I think they all stack up together, I will point out that you can see where the titles are in red. That is where I first noted these stats a few days ago, and then I realized that the stats were outdated, so I updated them this morning. And these titles in red are the 5 that since I first noted the stats, have seen their rating go up with more people having reviewed them. Now, this was only on Storygraph. I haven't seen any ratings trending up on Goodreads, like at all. And there were several books that trended down on Goodreads. These 5 didn't. They stayed static on Goodreads. But I thought it was really interesting to note that these books have increased in rating since more people have read them. Because I find that generally the more books that they, not more books, sorry, the more people that rate a book, the lower the average rating, which makes sense because not every book is going to be everyone's cup of tea. And I think it is very interesting to note that when you're looking at ratings, like despite the fact that The Lost Apothecary has the highest overall number of ratings, it also has the lowest average rating, which is to be expected. But then you've got the likes of, let's see, The Push, which is sitting right in the middle. It has the second highest average number of ratings, but also is sitting at 9th, which I think says a lot about the book. I also have a column of subjective popularity that is literally just my perception of how popular I think these books are. And that's from someone like I feel like I'm quite immersed in the bookish community. I don't watch as many booktubes as I possibly would like, but also like I'm regularly checking Bookstagram. I do read a lot of books. I am on Storygraph. I technically am on Goodreads, but I like fully switched over to Storygraph at the start of 2021. So yeah, in terms of what I think, like my perception of the popularity of these books are, I think that of these 20 titles, The Push is probably the one that I have seen the most about, or I've seen like the most people talking about. But that could also be because it was featured in Book of the Month, and also it did still come out at the start of the year. Um, Gilded One, the Gilded Ones is a similar situation, but also like it's a black author who's getting hyped up, and I love to see that. And also like Raybearer is one of my favorite books. You can see behind me, this shelf is kind of like my favorite shelf, and you can see Raybearer and Redemptor are both on there. And Jordan Afuko, the author of Raybearer, has done a lot, has been hyping up the Gilded Ones quite a lot, so I've seen a lot of hype for that. But also, it did come out at the start of the year. I believe it came out in February. And then, kind of in third place, I've got The Spanish Love Deception, which I'm not really on Book Talk so much, but I have heard that it's very popular on Book Talk, which I think plays a large role in its popularity. I'm not going to go like all the way down the list, but you can see the likes of like The Firekeeper's Daughter. I've seen quite a few people talking about it. I feel like it gets suggested to me a lot on Scribd. Detransition Baby has been like nominated for a lot of lists, and then generally it's kind of been books that I've put as like higher in popularity, ones that are featured in book boxes, or I guess Book of the Month is technically a book box, but they've been Book of the Month books. So I did notice that 8 out of 20 of the books were Book of the Month. And I'm not sure if that's an indication of Book of the Month having their finger on the pulse or them being tastemakers. but I thought that was an interesting thing to know. And I will say that All Her Little Secrets, I initially put as 20th on the list because I hadn't really heard of it. And then when I saw it on the list, it had less than 1,000 ratings. So I was like, oh, you know, it's cool that it's been nominated. It's got a Black author, and it sounds like it could be really interesting, but like I haven't really heard of it. And then I watched Books and Lala's latest video, I think, where she talked about Buzzwordathon, I believe it's called, and she mentioned All Her Little Secrets, which immediately jumped it up for me because, you know, my perception is that Books and Lala is one of the biggest booktubers. So if a book is recommended by her or mentioned by her, then it immediately increases its popularity and that kind of thing. So, where do I think these books rate? Like taking all of the metrics into consideration, and I haven't weighted any of them, so each metric has an equal stake in how I think they overall measure up. So let's sort this. So overall, I think the Spanish Love Deception is kind of the most popular, to kind of put in really basic terms. As you can see, it was third in terms of number of ratings it had on Goodreads. It's fifth in average rating, first in number of ratings it has on Storygraph, seventh in average rating on Storygraph, and then these are the combined Goodreads and Storygraph categories, and it's third on the number that is shelved on TBR on Goodreads, which I think is, you know, a big decider, I would say, especially because it is the Goodreads Choice Awards. And I think if people haven't read a book, like if people haven't read any books in that category, I think there's a fair chance of them voting for one they recognise, basically. So let me see. I think in terms of top 5, this is going to be really difficult, and I know it does come down to a top 10, but I think it's going to be the Spanish. Let me actually change them so I can highlight them. Nope. I'm all over the place this morning. I really apologize. So I think the Spanish Love Deception is going to be high up there. I think Firekeeper's Daughter is. I would say there's a fairly high chance that Detransition Baby will make the top 5. I mean, I'm on the fence about whether The Lost Apothecary is going to make the top 5. It is one of the books that I've read, and I kind of feel like if you've read it, you're not going to vote for it. So that's a thing. And this is really difficult. I would like to see the love songs of W. Du Bois making top 5, so I'm going to say that one as well. And in terms of the 5th one, there are a few really good contenders. Like The Push, The Gilded Ones. I think She Who Became the Sun has a fairly high chance of getting on there. I also think the final revival of Opal and Neve could do very. I'm not sorry, I don't know if it's Neve or Nev. Could be a contender, especially because it's been compared to Daisy Jones and the Six, but like so, like different as well. So I'm going to go with She Who Became the Sun because there has been a lot of popularity around what was dubbed the Sapphic trifecta. So they are the top 5 that I think is going to win. And in terms of who I actually think is going to win the debut novel, I think looking at past winners, now I could be wrong, I'm really bad at like age categories, and I don't even know what age categories these books actually fall into. But this category historically has largely been books that are YA or like YA adjacent. So for that reason, I think the winner of debut novel is going to be Firekeeper's Daughter. So I'd love to know your thoughts on this, especially given all my stats that I've laid out. And now I think what we should do is go through the other categories and see what I think about them. So let me bring up the Goodreads categories and let's have a look at the other categories. This is going to be a quick one, so oops, I shared the wrong one. My apologies. I'm so sorry. I am so chaotic. This is what you would see if I didn't edit my normal videos. So let's have a look. This is going to be quick. This is not me going to go into like historical detail or anything like that. So best fiction. I think it's going to be Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. Let's see what the next one is. Mystery and thriller. I'm pretty sure there's a Stephen King nominated in this. So, for Stephen King, yes, Billy Summers is nominated. So I'm going to say it's probably going to be Billy Summers by Stephen King. But if it isn't Billy Summers, I'd like to see Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead win this category. Historical fiction. Okay. I've seen quite a lot from a lot of these books. I'm going to go with Lost Apothecary for this category. Best fantasy. This is a wonderful, incredible, diverse category. But Sarah J. Maas is nominated. Like, no shade to Sarah J. Maas. I did enjoy A Court of Silver Flames. But I think I think it's going to be A Court of Silver Flames. And if it's not A Court of Silver Flames, I think it is probably going to be Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. However, Jay Kristoff has asked his fans to vote for The Shadows of the Gods. So that could also be one. I'm doing a really bad job of picking one. My apologies. But I think it's probably going to be A Court of Silver Flames. But I think Under the Whispering Door or The John Gwynne could also win this category. Romance, I'm going to say, is probably going to be The Spanish Love Deception. However, I believe The Love Hypothesis has also been big on TikTok. So there's that. But I'm going to go with The Spanish Love Deception. That one. And let's see about science fiction. Oh, tricky. Do I recognize any of these is the question. I think it's going to be Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. horror. I'm pretty sure Stephen King's also nominated in this one, but I could be wrong. Yes, Later by Stephen King. So I think that is going to win. And if not, I am going to go with The Final Support Group by Grady Hendrix. Humor. I don't think I've read any of the books in this category. I mean, I haven't mentioned if I've read any books in the other categories, but humor, I don't know if I even recognize any of these. I recognize the name David Sedaris, so I'm going to go with A Carnival of Snackery for that category. Non-fiction. I know Cultish has been nominated in this one, so I'd love to see Cultish win. I would also love to see Mediocre win. In terms of who I actually think is going to win is Matt Haig. I have thoughts on that just because I didn't like the Midnight Library, but I think it's almost certainly going to be Matt Haig, even though, in my opinion, there's much better books in this category. Not that I've read the Comfort book, but best memoir and autobiography. This is a really difficult one, especially because a lot of people struggle to rate memoirs and autobiographies because people feel like they're judging people's lives, which I think is fair. For me, I will rate it based on the storytelling. I think this is a really hard one because obviously Hunter Biden, I believe, is Joe Biden's son. So it could be that one. I've seen a lot of talk around crying in H Mark. I'm pretty sure Priyanka Chopra Jonas is married to one of the Jonas brothers, so I feel like that could increase her chances of winning. And then, as much as I do not like this person as an author, and I do not like Father Turf, to put it mildly, I think Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is also very popular. Who I think will win this category? I'm going to go with Priyanka Chopra Jonas. History and biography. Who have we got? Then these books, I don't even recognize any of them. Bagman by Rachel Maddow. It's the only one that even. Oh, there's an Ibram X. Kendi book. I'd love to see it win. Is it going to win? I don't know. Because I know that sometimes these kind of things turn into the White Olympics. I would love to see an Ibram X. Kendi win. Whether it will, I don't know. Graphic novels and comics. I think it's probably going to be between June and Laura Olympus. I don't know about V. Schwab's history with with the Goodreads Choice Awards and whatnot. I know she's incredibly popular. She is one of my favorite authors, but I also know that people are really excited about Laura Olympus, and also June's got a lot of hype because it's just come out. So, the film, I mean. So that could be that. I really need to whiz through these quicker. I think the poetry has got the woman that wrote Break Your Glass Slippers, but I would like to see Amanda Gorman win. Yeah, I think Amanda Lovelace, Shine Your Icy Crown, is going to win poetry. I'm just trying to zoom through these. I've done debut novel, I've done a deep dive, so I'm going to skip that one. YA fiction, I think, is going to be Karen M. McManus, The Cousins. Even though I absolutely hated that book, I think that's who's going to win. I do feel like some of these categories I could talk at length about. Best YA fantasy and science fiction. Okay, so this one I am going to talk a little bit on because Iron Widow, okay, so there's like 5-6 weeks left of the year, so it could change, but I don't think it is. Iron Widow is my favorite book of 2021, and the fact that Jiran J. Zhao has managed to make themselves a New York Times bestseller based on essentially going viral on social media makes me think there is a possibility that this book could actually win in this category. And I really hope it does. I absolutely adored it. Who I think is actually going to win this category? There's a lot of popular white authors. I think it's going to be Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. Middle grade and children's, Amari is nominated in this category, and I really hope Amari wins because it deserves it. And I should say, like, every time that I go to bat about these books, this is not necessarily me, critiquing the other books. It's just I'm very passionate about some of these books and some of these categories. Who I think's going to win is, I'm pretty sure I just saw Rick Riordan. Yeah, I think Daughter of the Deep is probably going to win. And this is the final category. So let me wrap up then. I had a lot of fun having a look, trying to predict who I think is going to win these different categories. And I would love to know your thoughts, especially as some of these categories I haven't read any of the books in. So let me know, and also kind of check back because I will be trying to read 19 of the 20 books in the debut novel category. So until next time, bye. Oh, this is really hard to end whilst I've got one hand.